In 50 meters, turn left.
Shut up! Mate, look, a KFC Go Bucket and freeze for just $4.95 from 3 to 5 p.m. Shut up and take my money!
Not everywhere and not forever. Online and pickup only.
There's a reason the word you is in our name at UE. You see, we've always been about your specific needs. It's why we like to get to know you right from our first conversation. We like to call what we do U-shaped insurance. UE, you insured.
Hello, everybody. Now I'm just going to undeafen from my call, where I am sitting here with my green screen not fully covering everything. We are professionals here, I promise. Let's... Okay. I will need to go in and fix that up. But I am here with Matt, who I have had a couple of very, very good chats with. Matt, you're able to hear me, buddy? Awesome. Now, let me just double check as well. And there's something I should have done. Mixer, and we will have a... we need to make sure that we are picking up your audio. Go, new source. And that'll be chat. Now, that should be coming through quite nicely. Okay, so... we are going to be talking about today because this has been something that I have really been sort of keeping on my radar because... GW has made some, let's call them interesting changes to how they do ordering between stores. Now, to introduce the person that I'm speaking to today, Matt is an enthusiast level of the hobby. Definitely enjoys himself from some different facets of Warhammer. Also tried a couple of different systems that are sort of adjacent, I'll call it, to 40k. Going through, I believe it was AOS. I think you were telling me about Warcry, weren't you, buddy, as well?
Yeah, I do enjoy my little skirmish games.
So definitely a fan of a number of different parts of the hobby, as well as works closely with a few clients who are going to be directly impacted by some of these changes. Now, for anybody who is not tracking what we are talking about here, let's go through and break that down, because there are two parts that I want to talk about for this particular set of changes that GW have done that is going to directly affect everything that LGSs do to try and provide us the hobby that we love and allow us to support them and everything else, and may actually make it so certain LGSs don't even sell Games Workshop products anymore. So I'm looking at the Spiky Bits article that they did on it. This is a really great piece that's been written, so go and show them some love. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about a bunch of things, but I will be referencing this, where they've changed two things. First off is the way that stores are able to order through Games Workshop. Now, essentially what they're getting them to do is put in a want list, but GW will not confirm how much stock the store actually gets until after a period. Essentially, the ramifications, we'll go through this in detail, is basically that stores will have no idea what they're getting, and Games Workshop gets a free heat temperature sensor of what products are going to be particularly popular and whatever else. And this is compounded by the second change where their website, which already had little pieces of this, but there are now certain products which have this little tag on it, which means you can only get it through the Games Workshop store. Now, previously there were certain online things, that's fine, but this has now gone into things like our codexes, where if a store wants to order you a codex, they don't get any wholesaler discount for doing so, and it means that in a lot of instances, stores will actually lose money on ordering a codex for you, which means nobody will do it. This is a very, very deliberate push from Games Workshop to push you to their new fancy website and away from local gaming stores. Now, one of the big problems that I see, and I guess I'll start here, Matt, is that this really, really hurts places that are places that we go to, have a little bit of a haven, that run tournaments, that give back to the community that they're in. Games Workshop, for the few tournaments that they run and everything else, I mean, they haven't been the best with supporting their tournament community or even their players. And we are in different parts of Australia, but have you seen sort of a similar thing? Like, how do these changes stack up for you as somebody who's trying to help certain people with navigating this?
Well, it's what they're talking about here, to some extent, is already being felt here in Australia. So, just to give you an idea, 2 local stores here in Brisbane I know of for a fact. The new Titanicus is coming out, Epic, whatever you want to call it. They were told yesterday that their allocations were halved.
Halved?
So, literally halved, yes, correct.
Wow.
So, they have now had to go through and systematically call half of the people that have pre-ordered through them and tell them, sorry, we either have to... So, one of the 2 stores never takes money for GW pre-orders, ever. Because
right.
There's no way to know whether or not it's going to come in.
Yeah.
It's especially bad. I cannot speak for the UK or America or what those retail outlets go through, the third parties. But over here, if it's not online on the store, we definitely can't get it. And if it is online, we're flipping a coin, essentially.
Right, and that, I mean, even just from a, because there's obviously plenty of people that aren't plugged into the zeitgeist of, stores ordering and back-end, drama and everything else. That has got to absolutely suck for the LGS. That it's not their fault. 100% not their fault, and yet they have angry customers or disappointed customers, and that has a real lasting impact on trying to retain even just traffic through a website or people walking into a store. As soon as somebody has a bad experience, it's very unlikely that they're going to walk back into that store again.
Well, I mean, you look at it, like the Titanica stuff sold out on the GW website within, an hour. We know this, right? As soon as something goes up on there, it's gone. Why would they not want to tarnish the reputation and negatively impact their third-party retailers' relationship with the public that want to purchase GW products to bolster their ability to sell stuff at a higher margin? Despite the fact that, as we know, their shops are shifting away from that end of the funnel, where the Liam Hackett's of the world sit and where you sit, right? They're not interested in you playing in their stores anymore.
Yeah, which is actually something that I think I was telling you about. There was a GW store in Sydney that turned away players who had bought product in their store not 7 days ago and would not let them play in store. The only people that were allowed to play in store, and this is a massive GW store, by the way. This isn't some little rickety store that really can't support a lot of people or whatever. They literally turned people away. It was an online posted policy that they would not allow anybody to play in their store unless they were prospective buyers of new product. We had, and I was saying this to you when we were chatting beforehand, we had the New South Wales Tournament Community Facebook page overnight grew by like more than 100 people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because like there were people that, and you know, it's kind of weird for me that I don't tend to go anywhere near GW stuff. A lot of the tournaments that I play in are like, you know, ITC private tournaments, and you know, GW stores will be a part of the international tournament circuit, but they're not like the ones I play at aren't official GW.
Well,
And so, but there's still a huge amount of people that frequent Games Workshop stores.
well, yeah, there are, and we, you know, I hear a lot through. I say we. You feel so involved with these stores when you play in them regularly and work with them,
Oh, absolutely.
because
Yeah.
they're very community focused, and you know, I know for a fact that there has been there are a few Games Workshop stores that have incredible feedback and incredible customer relationships. You can see their Google reviews are amazing. Others are on the other side of the fence there, and I find that it's your LGS is always going to be more customer focused than the Games Workshop store, because like there's no multi-million dollar company behind it, no behemoth pushing advertising and stuff. One
Yeah.
bad Google review, it brings a whole lot down, you know?
Oh yeah,
And
there are so many quit moments from looking at a
Absolutely.
website to walking in a store. There are so many quit moments.
Absolutely. And the community, like, it's hard. Like, I can't really feel bad for the situation. Like, if we're in a situation where we have no tables left to roll dice on outside of our kitchen, we have no one to blame but ourselves. So like we have created like Warhammer, any Games Workshop product, it's in a commodity based market. So when someone drives their price down, everyone has to follow or they get pushed out of the market. And what happens is prices get driven down so much, everyone normally what happens is the market gets destroyed and a monopoly enters the situation. The problem with Games Workshop products is that they are never going anywhere and they can manipulate the market. So what instead happens is you get establishments that open that have nowhere to play, very little overheads, and have incredibly low prices. And the more the community purchases outside of where they roll their dice, the more they're putting their LGS in a position where, and the more that they support these discount rates as well. Because you got to
Yes.
remember, so it's pretty standard in Australia now, 20% off GW, right?
Yep.
That's standard. Yeah. So just to give you an idea of that 20%, after that 20% margin, by the time shipping is accounted for, by the time if it's in store, by the time shelf life is accounted for, by the time you account all the other overheads, there is, and if you afterpay Warhammer guys, you are literally taking money off the table for your LGS. It's a 7% payment fee to process that.
That is so big.
It's insane. So there's literally no money. So if you aren't then following up by buying paints and dice and hobby materials, your White Dwarf magazines, all these other things from your LGS, you're really hurting them. And that again is made worse by you not even stepping foot in there and shopping somewhere else to save what? What are we saving here when we're talking about a $100 box of minis? We're talking $5.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You know, like if you
yeah.
don't want to play on your kitchen table, you've got to support this. And this situation with GW, it's really interesting. I just read through the article while I was waiting for the stream to start.
Yeah.
And all the problems that they're talking about coming, we already experience in Australia because of how Australian distribution works.
Yeah, because I know that there is, like, let's talk about the nexus that is Brisbane, for example. There is, I believe it's the Mount Gravatt GW store, or a Mount Gravatt store, which is like the preferred place that will basically like ship in and out more GW product than almost like anywhere else. And yet I believe that store actually doesn't contribute much back to tables and tournament circuits and whatever else. Is that like a fair sort of assumption that I've got of the place?
To my knowledge, they actually have probably one of the nicest gaming spaces I've ever seen.
Oh, okay.
It's
That's good
very
to know.
clean. It's very, but the problem is it's always empty. There's never anyone in there playing. Don't they host
Really?
armies on? Yeah, they host armies on parade there, and that's really cool.
Do you know why there's not anybody that goes in there?
I'm not sure, man. It could be this attitude towards where in the funnel they're targeting their store. you know. They're
Oh.
not really all inclusive of that entire funnel, as we've just
Yeah,
talked
okay.
about.
And actually, I
think-
guess that raises a good point. Sorry, Matt.
No, you're right.
If for anybody who's not familiar with it, explain what the funnel is.
Right. So in every single industry, it doesn't matter what it is you're selling or doing, product or service, there is a funnel. And at the top of the funnel, you've got everyone coming into whatever product or service you're offering. They are going to be so willing to offer up any amount of money to get into the funnel, right? If they come in and you're like, you need 2,000 points of whatever to play, then they will spend 2,000 points to play. You then sell them the paints, you sell them the tools, the whole shebang, happy days. You've then got people like our friend Jay here at the very, very, very other end of that funnel, where the only time he's making a purchase, he's probably got all of his hobby supplies, he's got all of his paints. He's so switched on with what's happening with armies, he's not swayed by the new shiny thing like I am, right? Like if its data sheet doesn't match up and fall in line with your strategy for the next tournament, you're not going to purchase that. And chances are you already own it, or you've got a community of people where you can swap armies and swap models and do things to sort of be able to play, right? It's function over form for you. So that's the funnel essentially, and everyone would fall into some point. And GW stores, it sounds like from what you were saying with what's happening with New South Wales, and this might be a shift. I can't comment on that. I don't know anything about GW's internal, like what's happening internally there. But if that's the case, then they are only focusing on people that are at the front of that funnel. So this is interesting because the Jays of the world and the Liam Hackett's of the world, they're the inspirational content, right? That's what I aspire to play my Votan as well as Jay one day. So that drives me to go into my LGS and buy paints and buy glue and buy green stuff and make them look cool and do my hobby stuff and then buy more models so I can get my list right and play there. Without those people in your store, there's no inspirational content. And maybe that's what is missing at Mount Gravatt. I'm not sure, but for me, like, you know, seeing you in a store would make me want to go to that store. That's his training ground. You know, I want to go there and learn as well. That's where he got good. That's where I want to get good. I don't know.
And it is funny that you mentioned that because, you know, when we're talking about money, GW has the largest markup of basically any retailer whatsoever, and everybody tries to beat GW to drive people towards them. And then when you look at, because we were chatting about this a little bit, that, you know, and everybody knows that GW has at times, more often than not, a contentious relationship with certain content creators. Like we know about takedowns of people who have done, you know, like really great animation works that they've you know, put up as a fan-made thing. They sponsor very, very directly and in a considered manner certain channels and whatever else. And it's funny that, like, nobody really, I can't speak to anybody who, I'm going to use the term pro because, you know, we don't really have much of an equivalent, just, you know, like high-ranked ITC players that are strictly, you know, sponsored in a way that we would consider in a normal fashion. Or, like, for example, like my LGS is Irresistible Force that sponsors my channel and, you know, has been with me since like the very, very start. Everything that I do has somewhere IF's name attached to it. And that is even if they haven't directly sponsored a video, I have that sort of a relationship where I mention them. And then that means that, you know, it creates this sort of circle of exactly what you were saying, where if I can drive some people to IF store, that's great. It's helping an LGS out. That in turn helps me out. I don't know anybody else that has that sort of a symbiotic sponsored relationship with GW, because I don't know that they put too much of a focus onto tournament players as that piece of the puzzle that it, like, because we're not gamer dads. Like, there are some within the tournament community that will spend a lot of money. It is absolutely true. But the vast majority are either sitting on what they need, or they, like you said, will have the resources to be able to get it, which means that when we're looking at these changes to how they're doing their online store and everything else, we're also looking at that it doesn't just stop the LGS from being able to make a margin. It also means that symbiotic relationship becomes so much more strained because how does IF continue to, like sponsor me with a box that comes out or something, or with the new hotness that people are going to look at and are going to try and get on the tabletop and work out how to play it? How do they do that when every time I send somebody to them, they're losing money?
Look, that's a great point. So like the flow-on effect from everything that because it's hard, right? Like, so there were 2 points there. One was you were talking about the content creators, and real quick touching on that, like we all need to understand that GW make their money from the silhouette, right? That Space Marine silhouette, that IP is where they make their money. Truly, man. Like
it is.
That Space Marines are cool. Everyone thinks there's no one in the world that even the people that love Xenos and the chaos and all the rest of it, they are lying through their teeth and they tell you they don't think Space Marines look cool. So it's like there's this thing that we all need to understand and accept, that they do have a business to run at the end of the day. And I hate to say it, the IP side of things, it is very much their business that they need to protect, and that's how they feel they need to protect it. Like, I think we'd all be in the same thing if it was our stuff. On the other side of the fence, though, you could say the same thing about, like, it's all just business with this LGS thing, right? But realistically, like, we have more, as a community, we have more control. We have a say in that. We can literally speak with our wallets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely.
there is, and the difference, I think, between the IP protected content that keeps getting taken down and LGS is being at risk is, it's like those IP, like Astartes. This is a great example. Like, how many people got into Warhammer 40K from that 5-part series that one dude made, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, it is a tragedy. I am not sitting here taking Games Workshop's side. I want to be very clear about that. I don't agree with any of this. I think they're silly. They've ruined a great marketing potential here. They don't have to pay these people. They're going to market their product for them. But I do see where they're coming from with the IP, and I do understand it. What I don't understand about the way that they're treating LGSs is that, like, if we're talking about a volume game here, yeah, they could definitely sell out online. But if they're just shipping B2B to LGSs, they don't have to worry about fulfillment. Their labor is much more minimal. They're not front facing, so they don't have to deal with the public. They don't have to deal with complaints. So I don't understand it from a business perspective. I don't know what their margins are like internally. It could be astronomical. They could be driving everything to be pushed onto their actual web store. But we can change this by not purchasing direct from GW. Right? We can literally. And what actually needs to happen, because I know for a fact some of my clients are only going to order 2 things from GW. There is a baseline product range you have to order, like a Coke fridge, and then they will only order what customers order. That's it. They will never, ever restock ranges, ever. Because the price, what's happening right now with their margins, they recently didn't place a GW order for about 3 weeks, right? And during that 3 weeks, they had the most gross profit on their online store that they'd had in 4 years.
That is crazy. That is actually nuts.
Their ROAS on their marketing spend didn't increase by 2 times. It didn't increase by 5 times. It didn't increase by 10 times. It increased by 15 times the ad spend by not selling Games Workshop through their web store.
And that, actually, just a real quick pin in that one. Pagan sent through a $20 super chat. I had to buy my Tidewall gun rigs from 3D Brigands. I think
I feel him.
That super chat sort of feeds into what I'm going to talk about here, where it is insane that, like, we are driven in a certain direction to go to GW or whatever else. Our LGSs are suffering from it when they don't buy GW products and restock them. They make more money. And then even when we go to the GW web store or whatever else, there are so many things that once you're there still aren't in stock, or you put an order and you wait for like a couple of months to get. I can't tell you the number of Tau players message me about like, oh, what are good replacements for Tetras and for Piranhas, because literally nobody can get their hands on them. I actually, in one of my previous live streams, had somebody send me a link to I forget exactly what it was off the top of my head, but it was basically this third-party resin caster who did all their own unique designs on, almost every single faction. And they were looking at these jet bike things and using those for Tetras. And that is the most common sentiment that I run into it, that people are wanting to buy these products. They're being driven a certain way, and then there's a lot of things where they're just not getting what they need access to. At the end of the day, it's kind of like, and as you were saying, from a business perspective, because I do understand GW wanting to increase their profit margins. It's kind of the way that the world is going, where we need to have this 7% growth every single year with like clockwork, because that will never fail, and it's not a bubble, and that's, foolproof for all of time. I do understand Games Workshop need to, answer to their shareholders and whatever else. But like you said, if you're going to have a range, and they cannot be naive to this, that there is a lot of stuff that people cannot get their hands on, there is a monetary value that you can put to LGS as having to have that conversation with customers. There is a monetary value that you can place on everything that you listed, and having these storefronts, and also at the same time acknowledging, and it's, little tangent from me, but speaking of my sponsor, IF, I raid Mythic in WoW, and we've been having to do a shitload of they're Mythic Plus dungeons, basically. It's a way that you can gear yourself outside of the raid. And I'm having a chat with this dude who's in the guild that I'm in, never spoken to him before. I think he plays in one of the lower raid teams, or he's a casual guy, whatever. I make a reference to the Ecclesiarchy because somebody said Doge, and I pushed the meme from Adeptus Ridiculous of Doge Van Dyer instead of Goge Van Dyer, the guy who basically tried to fuck over the Sisters of Battle and then got himself killed, and then it led to, everything there. And he's like, oh my God, did we just become best friends? And we were chatting about it, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm actually up in like the Brisbane area. I went into an LGS and I had a chat to these like two dudes that were tournament players, nicest dudes ever. And as soon as I walk out, the owner of the store is like, hey, you just like had lunch with like two of the highest ranked tournament players in the world. And the dude's like, no shit. I'm like, you're talking about Irresistible Force, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, I did. It was such a good story. It was really nice. It was blah, blah, blah. And just like hearing that sort of story, I've not had in my entire run, and I'm not a massive YouTuber, but I have a large number of people reach out basically every single week. And not one person has given me that sort of a story about a Games Workshop store. That is the sort of goodwill that you foster at a place that cares enough about their business, because like you said, they're not the big guy. They're not able to just rely on millions of dollars of marketing and in a way being too big to fail, which I really feel like GW kind of is. They hold the monopoly on, this wargaming miniatures. There's plenty of other systems that have cropped up, and no matter how popular they are, they don't take off in a way that 40K did.
That silhouette, man. Space Marines are cool, I'm telling you.
Dude, as soon as the Codex dropped, every single motherfucker on the planet all of a sudden had an Ultramarines army come out or a Salamander's army come out.
Right.
And I'm like, you were just sitting there with that in your back room this whole time, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, look, it's hard. I think the only thing, like, because, what was Pagan said he 3D. Yeah, look, I had a friend. I've got actually this is actually an awful story. A friend went to play a small local tournament at one of the Games Workshop stores near us. And he was playing, it was Age of Sigmar, or like a small Age of Sigmar, like local thing. And he had Gloomspike Gits, right? And the shrine thing, 0 points to play it, but it's like, it's essential for the army to function. He had to 3D print it, man. Like it is impossible to get. They told him he couldn't play it. He couldn't use it. And he's like, please, I'll buy it. If you've got one, I'll buy it and build it now before I have my game. I'll get 3 bits of paint on it. I need it to play. And they're like, no, you can't use it. So he was like, what do I do? Do I drop out or just like struggle my way through? Because it's not that I don't want to purchase this kit, it's that I can't. Like it's crazy. Yeah, Land Raiders. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Land Raiders. What do you do? What do you do? And if you go to order them from your LGS, I think they're direct now. I'm not sure. Triple check. but anything you order that's Games Workshop direct, the LGS has to pay retail for.
Yep.
Just remember that. So if you order a direct product and that LGS charges you retail price for that direct product, they have literally lost money on it. They have made nothing. They've done that for you.
Because it's never a one-to-one. They've got to pay their employees. They've got to pay for shipping. They've got to, like, there are so many things that go into the cost of moving something that, you know, and that's the other thing, that so many more of these different products, like I mentioned in the opener, that are going to that direct-only range mean that LGSs, I really feel like, are going to move away from selling GW products.
Yeah, well, LGS is with tables anyway. So when
Well,
you've got
yes,
overheads, yeah, when you've got overheads, like, but it's up to us, right? Like, if you go into your LGS and you can afford to, say to them, I don't want the 20% discount, I want the 10% discount. All right? Because the reality is they shouldn't even have to go 10%, man. Like, you look at any other company in the world that has a serious B2B business like because Games Workshop's B2B business is serious, man. It's on another level serious, right? It's huge.
Yeah.
They price their products on their own website above RRP to give their B2B customers the opportunity to have movement for things like Black Friday sales, right? How the hell can they run a promotion for Christmas, for Black Friday, for Father's Day, they can't.
Yep.
GW has given them no room. The way that GW were doing this, someone started selling to third parties. I think, anyway, this is just speculation, guys. All right? I don't actually know. But if I was a betting man, I would say a long time ago, back when we were like, I don't know, 11 and 12, when Queen Street Mall Games Workshop was sick and it was like a nerd haven run by nerds. The dude that was in charge of Games Workshop went, let's supply other hobby guys that have hobby stores. And somewhere along the line, someone said, we can't pull it out from under them because we'll lose so much good faith with the community. Let's just slowly make it so it's impossible for them to make a profit.
Which when you think about it, it is insane that the wholesaler, the manufacturer of the product, has the highest markup on that product. Which means that, like, at the end of the day, you're not actually paying the value of the product. You're paying the value of the name. Because if another store can pay it at, 20% off, that means that if they're going 20% off, that's not the actual figure of what they're getting it for GW. That's the amount that they've chosen to even be able to make some sort of money on the product to start with. And then this bridges us into a topic that I have become a little bit more enlightened to over my time doing YouTube, and that is the sheer number of places that, and we've got two big ones in Australia that sit on my radar, that offer nothing back to their tournament community. They have no tables, they have no overheads, and they are basically suffocating the market over 1%. Goddamn percent, and they are doing so well because we as consumers are opting in for that 1%.
Man, I tell you what, there's a place on the north side of Brisbane. This isn't my client, by the way, guys. I see this guy on Facebook all the time. Wargamers Hub. He is your typical hobby enthusiast who loves the hobby and wanted to open a store and give something back. And this guy has crawled on his hands and knees to get to a point where he's got this awesome warehouse now. He just posted this post up on Facebook where he shipped like hundreds of Christmas boxes. He does all of his pre-orders at 25% off to get in under those retailers that are doing like 21% off. And that guy has to work 7 days, probably on his own, like, because the minute you add another wage onto that, he can no longer sell Warhammer in his entire business. It's not like, you look at Irresistible Forces website, they don't just have Games Workshop, they do everything. They're a hobby store. Like, Wargamers Hub is a wargaming store. So if we don't come together as a community and go, look, GW, I'm not going to buy your stuff online. The Australian Games Workshop store can sit there. I'm going to go to my LGS and buy it. And if I can't buy it from them, I'm going to I don't know, chuck them $10 to get an STL file printed for you. They'll know someone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
if you can put pressure on Games Workshop to start properly supplying your LGSs, you will always have somewhere to play your hobby and connect with people. Because at the end of the day, buying off a web store or saving $5 on your product, that doesn't make you any friends.
Yep. When I was starting out, I lucked into one of the better teams in New South Wales at the time. And I only did that because I saw an LGS that was nearby, and I'm like, all right, I'll go and see if I can meet anybody, see if there's a tournament scene, whatever else. If I had never done that, and I just started collecting 40k on my lonesome and, was sitting on the outside without those person-to-person connections, I never would have become a tournament player. This YouTube channel wouldn't exist. I would have been like, okay, yeah, this is cool. Painting really isn't for me. I might have never actually found out how goddamn exhilarating it is to win a goddamn tournament, let alone have a great game against a great person. And this is something that, like, I actually got to have a walk through Irresistible Force when I went up there because I got some family that's nearby. And I'm like, I'm going to go up and see the store that's been, sponsoring me for like 6 months. I walk in there. The owner, John, is just like one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. I get to walk around and see like walls of not just like 40k, but a bunch of other game systems, some armies on display, to like all this stuff just gets you so excited for whatever part of the hobby. And then I'm walking around and it's also like 3 walls of paints, 3 full goddamn walls of paints. An area that's got this like terrain board set up where that's a little bit more like aesthetically pleasing, that I think they played like Horus Heresy on. And then behind it, there's all these like dice bags and everything else. I go into the playroom, one of the playrooms, and there's a barista serving coffee in there. There's a bunch of nerds hanging out, having fun. And I actually remember thinking when I'm in there, I'm like, I'm really, really glad that this store has so much going on for it, because if GW became a problem, then at least they would have something to fall back on. At least if 40k becomes a bubble, it bursts, and then everybody's sick of it, there is something else for them to do. And I just remember walking around that store feeling like it was intoxicating being in there. It's the thing that makes you want to buy a couple of boxes and then get them together, rush it so you can get them on the table and actually roll dice against somebody. And,
That's cool,
like,
yeah.
The 40k community isn't perfect, and you get your shitheads, but that's everything. We had shitheads in rugby, but they were in grabbing range, so a lot of the time they keep their mouth shut. But it's something that, yeah, and nobody has had to twist my arm to be like, I don't want to see that go away.
Well, I think everyone should read that Spiky Bits article in Australia that likes Warhammer related or Games Workshop related products, Lord of the Rings, whatever it might be, and understand that everything they're reading there, retailers, third-party retailers in our country have been dealing with for the last 2 years. So this isn't new.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. I'm actually going to go into my Twitch stream and my YouTube thing, and I'm gonna link this Spiky Bits article, and in post, if I find the other one that's talking about the direct range changes, I'm gonna post that one as well so everybody can have a look at it. For anybody that comes across this, especially somebody who was potentially clicking on this thinking it was going to be like a mad hate video or something, it's not. This is something where I really just want people to educate themselves on what's going on, and like start, as Matt said, start speaking with your wallet, because for the sake of 1% or 10%, as a purchase that you're going to make is actually a relatively small amount. It really is. And I know that there is a bunch of stuff with cost of living and whatever else, but this sort of stuff is important, because if we give in to the cost of living, if we give in to, trying to scrape in a few dollars here and there, or if we don't have any of those places left, if GW are able to do this where they don't have to stock these places, they don't have to keep them within the sphere of what 40k is, you have tournament players like me who aren't sponsored, make it so much harder to make content on the stuff that we love. which means that, I mean, you look at the last 2 streams that I did, probably 2 of the most informative streams that I have ever done, showing people exactly how to play my list in Tabletop Simulator. I've only been able to get to that point because Irresistible Forces had my back.
Well,
and they're not the only LGS. Like, there are so many LGSs that are so good to their communities.
well, man, it's all fun and games now to look at the Titanicus situation I talked about and how, you know, I know of 2 retailers that have had to call half the people that pre-ordered with them and tell them, sorry, we can't fulfill this the day before pre-orders are supposed to go live, mind you. Sorry, the day before the stock's supposed to arrive, sorry.
Oh, which is so shitty.
Yeah, if you think that's not going to happen to your LGS and your niche in this hobby, then like wake up, because you will get really excited, go down, go online to order from your favorite LGS to go click and collect. But when you do that and you're on the bottom of the list and you miss out, don't get angry at that retailer system behind the counter. It's not their fault. This is because your friend next to you or his friend is continuing to purchase from Games Workshop online.
And that's it's actually like, and you know what? I'm gonna make a point of this. I'm gonna go onto my sponsor's website, and I've said this so many times when I've gone to like I've been wanting to make a series updated for 10th of like, you know, where does a new Tau player start? And I'll drag this on the screen so everybody can see it. I go onto here. And, you know, I'll look at, like, there's a few of the popular items that are still good to go. And then I get down and the range is sold out. And I know for a fact that this is not IF's fault. And, and I go to my LGS that I started playing at. They're having the same goddamn problem. The only places, I think, in Sydney that aren't having this issue are, like, Combat Company. Combat Company has one of the largest goddamn warehouses I've ever seen in my life, and they will never struggle to get anything because they are one of those preferred suppliers.
They are, but in saying that, they are really lovely guys. They absolutely deserve your business. Like,
oh yeah, I've had nothing but good experiences at Combat Company. That's not a slash at them. That's GW feeding things a certain way and leaving some of the little guys out to dry.
Oh, it's hard, and it's like I would actually. Truly, I would be totally fine with this whole situation if GW just manned up and came out and said, this is what our business model is going to be moving forward. Sorry, we're not sorry. Thank you guys for being transparent and being very clear about the direction you're shifting your product range into. We can all make adjustments, but it's clear as day as what's happening. It's just they're doing it with absolute cowardice.
Well, I was actually about to go on to this. Let me read you an excerpt of their release to stores. We have an exciting new way we are going to do new release solicitations. Every Sunday, the Warhammer community goes live with new pre-order items. You will be emailed a sheet detailing what items will be available for you to order through the trade department. We'll also be sending a separate email with a link to a Google form to fill out your desired quantities. The deadline, blah, 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 in the Google sheet. On the Friday before the pre-order weekend, we will send you an email confirming what quantities we will submit for your account so you can confidently take pre-orders. So they're acting like, hey, we're going to get all of this data. We're going to get all of this data on who's ordering from you and then allocate you what we feel like and send everybody else to our online store.
Makes sense. Sounds like that's very profitable for GW to do so.
And the opening line, we have an exciting new way we're going to do new release solicitations. They're not lying. It's just not exciting for you.
No. But it just sucks. Like, I love this hobby so much. Like, I'm literally sitting here. I just finished building an Angron model.
Oh, man, nice.
Dude, like, I love this hobby. I love the lore. I love everything about it. And it's like, look, if GW want to, you know, open stores that have the same feel and vibe as, you know, like your LGS or my LGS or whatever, then do it. But, like, don't put us in situations where, you know, we've got to play somewhere that we literally can't support because they don't have the product that we want to buy from them.
Yep.
Like that feels. How many cans of drink do we have to buy to make up for that? Do you know what I mean? Like from,
It,
I don't know if yours sells drinks, but like I
I
try
don't
and
have the stomach capacity to support my LGS through drinks. I really
yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fair. That's fair. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Drinks do not keep the roof over the head.
far out. No.
Yeah,
But they've got more. They've got better margins than Games Workshop products. So you know.
Holy shit, yes they do.
Well,
Yes
you
they
know,
do.
like I don't know. This is hard. This is a hard conversation because you're right. Like,
Mm,
you know, for example, right? I absolutely have the funds to just buy a World Eaters Combat Patrol from England and have it shipped to Australia.
mm,
I have not done so because I'm trying to support my LGS in every way I possibly can because, you know, they're almost living week to week,
mm,
these stores. There are very few out there that aren't. Most of them are living week to week, these guys. Like, it's crazy. And for me, I understand that most people aren't in that position, and it is about every dollar counts. I shouldn't say that what's $5 because to some people right now, like $5 is the difference between you having breakfast or not.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
actually shouldn't have said that. I apologize. Like that actually wasn't very fair of me. So I do understand that, but it's like I think we've got to start thinking about what's important to us. And please, for the love of God, cut your LGS some slack if they are out of stock. Like Jay just said,
Mm,
you know, this sponsor of his, the range that he is literally YouTube, you know, famous for, is 90% out of stock on his sponsor's website. There's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing anyone can do about it. There's nothing the LGS can do about it. So just cut them some slack and whatever you can order from them, please order from them. And if it's like pre-ordering video games, if you pre-order a video game, you know, and you pay for that gold deluxe edition for 6 times the base game's price to get
mm.
that mount, man, if that game turns out like dog shit, that's your fault. That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
your fault.
I haven't pre-ordered in, god damn it, I don't know how long. Because and I think that it's something that you remember the golden age of video games when, you know, you paid for a product and you got a complete product. You know, wild concept. Wild concept. And I think that this change to how LGSs order, and let's say LGSs go away, that, you know, they exist, but none of them are selling 40K. They're making their money off hobby supplies or other systems or whatever else. I really think that it's a little bit short-sighted of Games Workshop because they are going to lose a part of the culture around 40K and AOS and whatever else that I don't think any product can afford to lose. Like 40K, the tournament scene has never been this popular. Even just the fact that like you have people that are famous for just playing with plastic toy soldiers. If you would have said that to, like, let's say my parents' generation, you would have been locked up and just beaten every night because you would have sounded like an absolute insane person. And yet we've never had this much content. We've never had this much coverage. We have never had this much of an eye on a competitive scene that actually has money in it now. Before it was never profitable to be able to do it. But now people are able to make money off like coaching, like Art of War, perfect example. Sponsored my GT. I have a great working relationship with. They're a fantastic bunch of dudes. And they are able to do that sort of stuff full time based on content and coaching and whatever else. There is no world you do that like 10 years ago. Not a fucking chance. And at the moment, GW don't realize that LGSs are a part of that. They are a part of that zeitgeist because, you know, let's do a thought experiment. You want to start a business, and that business is running a facility where people can come in and play Warhammer. How in the shit do you even make rent? Let alone all of the other stuff that's going to come with it. Because if you're like, okay, cool, I got to make my rent, so every booking that I've got to come in and play here, it's like $40 to rent a table. There are a handful of people that might do that, maybe for a big event, but I don't see a world where anybody who's got scruples over 1% difference between one online store to another is also going to go, yes, I'll pay $40 for a table.
Yeah, look, I don't see it's so hard because there's also this psychology to that, right? Like people come in, if they pay for a table, then they're not going to pay for anything else because they've already given the store money. They feel like they've had to pay for that service, that
Yeah,
a service already.
absolutely.
So you're not gonna, and it's hard because like, man, I've played at places before, like back when I used to before Commander was a format, right? We're going back a long time.
Oh boy. Okay, Boomer.
Yeah,
Here we go.
yeah, yeah,
Regale us
yeah.
of a story from your time.
I remember sitting in this store. We'd be there every Sunday, and when there'd be like a Pokemon tournament or a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, they would literally kick us out to give these people tables. That feels
Yeah,
bad,
right.
man. You know,
Holy
and
shit.
like, well, like I imagine you'd have the same taste in your mouth when it's like, well, where do you stop that? Do you go, well, playing for $40. Are you willing to pay 50? I'll refund them their 40 and take your 50. You know, or do they imagine you're in the middle of a
Yeah.
game and someone comes up and says, "Hey, we're taking this table," and they go, "Well, I'm playing here," and they're like, "Well, we paid for it." So, and the owner comes across and says, "You got to leave, man." Like
Yeah,
that.
that's
That'd be a nightmare.
yeah, yeah, and it's yeah. I really feel like LGSs is something that we can't afford to lose. We really can't, because once you lose it, as soon as you know, like stuff is easier to do when it's established. There's a market for it. There's other people that have done it. But if LGSs go away, the thought of somebody else trying to start one when all others have failed and there's no money in it and there's whatever, no one's going to take that risk. Nobody's going to go down that road, and it means that like, yeah, yeah. And if we look at policies like what happened in Sydney, where GW were like, okay, well, if you haven't just bought that product, you can't come in here and build it and paint it and play with it. If that's a policy that they're going to take, then, you know, we're in a world of hurt. We are in a real world of hurt.
Yeah, that's scary, man. That's really, really scary.
Yeah. One thing I do want to do, because chat has been scrolling past furiously, I do want to spend some time catching up with that, because there's been some very, very good injects there. First thing I want to do, Eshatonin. I used to raid hard mode / mythic in WoW, but then I took an arrow in the knee. Glad to hear you got married. Sad that you can't play WoW anymore. Which I don't know if a lot of people would actually get that euphemism. Because obviously Skyrim, that was the running joke, the arrow to the knee, but it was actually supposed to signify a significant other that came and stopped you from being an adventurer. Can't get a Land Raider. I absolutely feel you. Can't get a Bad Moon for my Gits army, which is bullshit. Disciples of Tzeentch player for AOS. Can't find a Changeling anywhere. LGS has no idea when they'll get them back in stock. Like, we've been going for not even an hour yet. And this is just all through chat. Ordered a Devilfish and an LGS in a city with GW in early September. Never arrived. Last week finally ordered from GW. Click and collect. Order will arrive in 14 working days. That is just... I'm not even that customer, and I have a bad taste in my mouth from that. Also, my friend played at Worlds this past weekend and couldn't find me on VAR, Farsight, or a Firesight team. Holy. Blacksword, thank you for being here on Twitch, no less. Welcome to the Purple Channel. For anybody who wants the links, I posted them both in YouTube and Twitch. If they have disappeared for people, I will happily post them again. The Spiky Bits article is really, really great. I'll see if I can find the other one on the direct range for the website. To support your LGS now, you got to memorize the stock they hold and remember to go and get it from them when it's time to get that model. Or for any given army, there are a few to choose from. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have actually, because I don't want to give GW money directly because I don't want to support this shit, I have actually kept track of when IF or my local LGS down here in Sydney have had things in or were likely to have the restocks happening because I think they're on a specific day. I've actually waited and then done it. And exercising that self-control, I feel like a lot of people could do a little bit more of, because how many people here have a pile of shame? Let's see some hands, honestly. That's no one's going to judge. I didn't have a pile of shame for the longest time. And then friends kept giving me stuff, so it's their fault. All right, Black Sword. Honestly, my wallet is shut tight. Inflation era in Oz is hurting bad. A fucking man. Thankfully, I have a ton of miniatures and projects to keep me going, but I have no funds to spare for any new, let alone if I need any paint. I've been looking at separate side hustles to use to fund my grey crack addiction, but those funds are now going straight towards the family instead. That is a smart move. That is honestly a smart move. Chell and I have been feeling the same. If it wasn't for this YouTube channel, if it wasn't for Irresistible Force, I don't know that 40k would actually be a prospect I could even entertain. or at least playing at the top level. Because unfortunately, meta chasing at the top level isn't a dirty word. It is something you have to do. It's an unfortunate necessity of tournament play, but, you know, it's the world we live in. Might be an unpopular take, but I think the best thing folks can do right now is support the local LGS when it doesn't have the GW product you want. Buy one of the other games you play there. Fucking A. Absolutely. If we are in a means to, and I think this is, Matt, on what you were saying, I, you know, obviously appreciated that you looked at your words and that, you know, $5 means different things to different people. I think if we put it in the context of when you have some self money, some like, I'm going to go and I'm going to treat myself to something, I think then is where, you know, we do make some harder decisions on where we buy from and maybe get one thing less or allocate what we want differently so that we can keep these places alive. Because cost of living's hitting them as well. Like, most stores' rent has probably gone through the fucking roof. There was actually an article I was reading about it on, like, Sydney's restaurant scene and why most restaurants are going under, or why a lot of restaurants are having to charge, like, well more for any of their meals because somebody walks in and goes, hey, by the way, your rent's going up by, like, 40, 50%. And I think the same for LGSs, because at the end of the day, them having a building there is not cheap. And Matt laid it out, you know, if they're going week to week, then you've got a store owner which is constantly feeling pressure, wanting to be there for the community. Oh, you go.
Sorry to interject, but
No.
These store owners, I don't think you guys realize, none of them are business operators. Like, if they were, they wouldn't be in the situation they're in. They probably wouldn't even enter into this market, right? Like, you guys need to understand these are normal, everyday people, tradesmen, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters. Like, literally, they are not people who are business savvy. Like, I'm seeing here, Loopy120 said it's hard to support my LGS when they charge a $5 table fee, plus they sell everything at full MSRP. That to me says that individual running that store does not know what to do. He can't afford someone like myself to market his business.
And
right?
actually, maybe, Loopy, that's something that you could feed back to them, not in a terrible way or anything like that, but just, you know, give them a little bit of feedback that, hey, you know, I want to be able to support you, I want to be able to do all this sort of stuff. Can we have a chat about it? Because this is something that, as a consumer, put me off a little bit. Because at the end of the day, if somebody's running a business on their lonesome, they should have a focus on, all right, I want to do everything the right way. I want to do things which are going to encourage people to come here, not drive them away.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's hard because these people, they don't know, they don't, like I said, not having access to someone like myself that can give them that edge out there in an already saturated market means that they have been surviving for however many years on word of mouth, which is not a thing anymore. You know, like, you don't do fly drops. It's not a thing. These people don't do all of this stuff. So, like, if he's sitting there and he's saying it's $5 a table, maybe have a look. How many days a week is that dude there? I bet he's there 7 days. He's probably sleeping there. You know, like, he's probably got one other staff member that's also worked into the ground. Like, expanding the board game side, he doesn't know anything or care about Warhammer. Oh, I don't know, man. That's harder again. You know, look, Loopy, that just might not be the kind of LGS you want to support. You know what I mean? If they're not good people and they're not creating a good community, he's got about 10 to 12 employees. Well, I don't know what he's doing then. That to me seems, I don't know.
Well, I guess that's another thing that I will say is that nobody should take from this conversation that all LGSs are created equal and that there aren't still shitty people in the world.
Yeah, good point.
Or shitty business practices or whatever else. When I talk about supporting your LGS, it is 100%. Find a place that is worth your time and then make sure that place stays open. Nobody should feel like they have to just go in and, you know, get treated badly or have people get away with some stuff that they shouldn't be. It should 100% be, you know, the same as, like, the people we keep in our lives, our friends, even, you know, if you're struggling finding a good psychologist and a GP that gets you and talks to you and whatever else, like, you may have to do some looking around, but once you find it, don't let it go away. That's I think, the highlight.
I cannot pronounce Mouse's first name there, but
Masu.
They make an excellent point here about brick and mortar stores being hard to sustain. That is so true. And the reason GW have stores is marketing, right? Is literally about marketing. I think they're franchised out potentially as well. So, a lot of the onus is on the operator to make that work. But like, so we're talking about businesses opening to sell a product where physical stores probably only exist to sell that product online. So they
Yep.
now have no understand. They didn't realize that was a thing. They now have to try and monetize this in a brick and mortar store that has all these other overheads. So it's hard. Like this is really, really hard. And I think the only way these places survive is if they do what places like Resistance Force and Combat Company and the rest do and branch out and do things outside of miniature wargaming.
Because unfortunately, that is the way it's going. This is I guess the bullet point over the top of everything that we have been talking about, Matt, is that if GW is going to drive them this way, people will go where the market sends them. It doesn't matter how passionate you are, doesn't matter how much you love something. If you are struggling to eat, if you are struggling to keep the roof over your family's head, if it is not profitable to the point where you can eventually get some sort of comfortable and know, that the rug isn't going to get pulled from under you, people will go where the money is.
That's it, man. Yeah, it's hard. And without going around in circles, like I just really hope that everyone takes away something from this to maybe feel a little bit invigorated. To next time you need a paintbrush, don't go to a $2 shop, go to your LGS.
Yeah. And if something happens, if there's like a pre-order that goes away or it's taking a while to get your stuff in, like my local LGS, I had a bit of store credit from winning a tournament there and threw a little bit of my own money down on top to, and Matt, I've spoken to you about my Lumineth project to try and branch into AOS. There was a model that I wanted to pick up. I had to order it through the GW store through them. It's probably taken about 3 weeks longer than it should, but I'll always give them the benefit of the doubt and give them that extra time because I know that I could get it immediately if I went to the GW store, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so catching up, and actually it's funny, I saw Alvaro Carrero's comment. Our local stores rolled back their day pass fee because it drove people away to other game stores that didn't. It's an awesome store, massive space that's stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to keep the doors open. At the very least, they would hold your day pass fee as store credit, but only for 30 days, so it feels bad all the way around. I'm glad that they decided to roll that back. Not for the fact that they're, that I'm glad they're losing money or anything, but just that I think it's important for us to find a middle ground where LGSs don't get away with anything they want, but we are incentivized to support them, that they're doing things that are positive steps for relationships, because that, I think, is the big thing that LGSs have. We were talking about it before, that GW doesn't, is that relationship with the people that walk in the door. I have been in a GW store when I was a kid and a handful of times as an adult. As an adult, I have not had a single GW employee engage with me. It felt very, very, and obviously it's transactional. Like I'm not naive to that. But when I walked into Irresistible Force, without even saying who I was or anything else, I had a bunch of like positive interactions with the people that work there or were playing there or whatever else. I've had the same down at my LGS. I've made so many friends through that place. It just, it seems like a shame that might actually go away, not being dooming and glooming, not doing this for content or whatever else. Legitimately, I'm worried that this is going to go away.
Look, guys like Wargamers Hub up north, like, again, I don't know, this guy could be making tons of profit. Like, I can't speak. I'm literally talking out of assumptions based on the margins I know that GW has their products at. Couple that with a 20% discount with all the other payment processing fees that come into that. It's not looking good. These guys will keep their doors open while they've got $1 in their account because they love this community, right? So it's like they will work themselves into the ground. They'll do 100 hours a week. I'm not saying he's doing that. Again, I don't know. But like I've seen so many businesses in these sort of passionate industries and niches operate like this. And I'll be honest, man, like I've had this client for 4 years working on them. They are outranking Games Workshop for some of their keywords for their own product, right? and there's still no money in it. But the minute I rank them for something like Dice, they've got no stress about paying invoices. So it is really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Matt, that'll actually bring us to our time. I want to thank you for coming on and talking to us. Getting knowledgeable individuals like yourself is obviously something that I do not take for granted. And actually, if there are any people that are running LGSs or businesses or whatever, reach out to me. Send me an email, and I'll see if I can get this fine individual chatting to you and potentially looking after you in some way. I won't speak for Matt; he may not be soliciting new clients at the moment, but I will say that he's incredible.
Look, man, I appreciate you. I feel like I'm the one always pestering you on Facebook Messenger for custodies lists and Moten lists. So it's nice for me to be in a position where you're picking my brain for once. It's cool.
Well, hey, by the way, on your World Eaters, if you need a list, let me know. I've got a guy.
I will. I'm actually just gonna slap together that Christmas box that's about to drop. A combat patrol. And probably I'm just gonna spray paint them white and live my best life, man.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I want to thank not only Matt but all of you for being here for this conversation. For everybody that's watching this as a VOD later on, for anybody watching on Twitch, these become VODs immediately on my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. This is something that I don't want to be something which is dooming and glooming and hate-filled videos or anything else, but actually something that we look at a world that we would want to live in and how we get there. And I think we've touched on quite a few of those topics, and I think that this is something that we can really, really make a difference on, even though I am a small drop in the YouTube ocean. Talk to your friends about it. Talk to people in your gaming groups. Make sure that people that don't think about where they drop their money because they're just looking at getting what they're after as soon as possible. We all know what plastic crack feels like. That, somebody maybe considers where they're going to swipe their card on their next transaction, because it can make an absolute world of difference. I want to say a quick thank you to all of my patrons who make all of my videos possible, both YouTube and Patreon. While I'm bringing up their picture, if you would like to join them, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description. There is also, if you're on YouTube, right down below where you are, there is a join button which will get you into my YouTube membership, and you'll be able to join our Discord from there. To all of these incredible individuals, thank you so much, especially my chassos, Rob, Rain, Alex, and College Titanica Painter. I always fuck up his name. I always feel so bad. But these are the individuals who keep me going. And thank you to everybody who's been chatting. Thank you to Pagan for the super chat. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Matt, I will chat to you very, very soon. We'll get you sorted out with those World Eaters, mate.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, I hope you've enjoyed the chat, and we'll see you in the next one.
Catch ya.